Anyway, going to the questions. There are also a few themes that are recurring, and there's one question in particular I wanted to start from, if you don't mind. That is the relationship between national government open data programs and the cities. In my work, I have the privilege to talk to many of the other countries who are not represented here today, and sometimes I actually hear different and contrasting opinion of the relationship between national and the cities, not as positive as Romain and Aleida described. So one of the patterns we have observed is actually some kind of detachment between the national portals and the cities becoming more and more important and strong and repositories of very valuable data. They have easier access to the skills because of the young people coming out to universities with data degrees, and the national portals sometimes feel frustrated, at least the teams I've been talking to. So Aleida, you said that integration with the cities is doing fine. Romain, you said that also the policy is supporting you. I don't know if Marianne also had, of course, the geopolitical situation of Ireland is a bit different in terms of large cities and their role, but I wonder if you would feel like sharing a few tricks of how to deal with your cities and how to incentivize a reciprocal collaboration between national government and local government. May I start from Aleida?
Yeah, sure. The issue is that for smart cities, there are also a committee promoted by the Ministry of Economy and Enterprise, and that committee has different working groups. One of them is focused precisely on open data, and people that were working in the open data initiatives are also working in that group. So the idea is to try to see what the other groups in smart cities are doing to catch up with the same with issues that from open data are evolving. So there is no I would say the will invention. So we provide the information of the advances we have already done in the other groups. Moreover, we have like pilot, well, a project financed by the European Commission too, where Red.S is working. That, you know, this entity is a nuclear entity in open data. They help us a lot with all regarding to openness, and they are working with 4 different cities in Spain to open the data, to create their data portals. So they're all working on these vocabularies. This is that indeed in Spain in general, I imagine that it happens also to other countries where some city has something innovative, the other cities want to do the same. So they use they collaborate, and also they ask to these cities how they have done this. So at least we have these 4 cities in this pilot, in this project, to open their data, and they are defined as these vocabularies. These cities goes to the other committee of the regions, and they share and they spread their knowledge. So the other cities at the end will use the same. So we are in a very initial stage, I have to say, regarding vocabularies. We know that that's the focus where we have to go now, because of course, the intermediaries ask for that too, to reuse in a better way the information, and to have more possibilities of deploying applications. But it's something that we're working on, and that's the way we do. So it's like at the end we have to be in a lot of groups, what we call the sectoral groups, and we are now also in the intelligence, in the smart cities commissions in these different groups that I've said.
Thank you. And Romain, for you, beyond what legislation enables you to enforce, what would you say are the incentives to work well with the cities from the national perspective?
For us, it's a little bit as for McDonald's, come as you are. I mean that for all the territories, they can use a free tool called data.gov.eu. So it's something that they can do without any budget, if they just have some specific data set that they want to publish in open data. But we understand perfectly that big cities and departments, region want to have their own open data platform in order to have better communication, to showcase their public policy around the open data. So we just work closely with an association called Open Data France. We are giving some subsidies to this association, which is in direct contact with all the territories in order to give more visibility of what cities, departments, community of cities and regions are doing concerning open data. They launched at the beginning of the last year an observatory of open data of territories. That is a very good indicator of the level of evolutions concerning the open data maturity and the type of investment that territories are putting in this public policy. So for us, we are more trying to giving more tools that we can around data.gov.fr. Schema.data.gov.fr is one of those tools, and for the little information, schema.data.gov.fr was inspired by a local initiative called Open Data Local that was working with cities with a high level of maturity concerning open data, which wanted to work on the same data structures concerning data as deliberations or open data catalogs. That's something shared by all the cities and departments in France, and it should be structured in the same way. So we are just giving this local initiative, and we are hiring this initiative at the national level in order to give it more visibility and to give more credibility to all the territories that are involved in this type of initiatives. But we are not structured in ETA. We are just 17 persons.
I don't know if it is just me, but you breaking up, Romain? Yeah, you're breaking up.
It's breaking up. Can you hear me?
Yeah, you're back. Yeah.
Sorry, it broke since a long time, or
No, something like the last 10 seconds.
Okay, no, just why we are not structured to can help all the territories. That's why we are working closely with this association in order to have a better impact.
Understood. This nice idea of having something like a non-governmental organization acting as a glue between national and local. And Marian, if I can pull you in this conversation, how is Ireland and Dublin and the rest of Ireland working well together? Are they working well together, or have there challenges there similar to the ones I've seen described by other countries?
Yes, we have a big challenge with our local authorities. We have 31 local authorities, and they each operate, I suppose, autonomously or independently from each other. And, you know, I suppose I mentioned our suggested database or a data set. People want a national data set, not 31 separate data sets. And it's trying to address that. So say, for example, a recent suggestion was, can we have a data set on playgrounds? So they want a national data set, not 31 individuals. We have a group put in place that are trying to put a common schema for a number of data sets for the local authority areas, but it's very slow progress. They say resources are an issue, you know, they need somewhere to publish these. It's very slow progress, and it is a challenge for us. It's just trying to get those 31 local authorities working together with a coordinated approach. Yeah.
The point you make about Ireland also perhaps being the size where the audience would naturally expect to have one data set. It's small enough to have one data set. While in France, you will probably, if you live in the south, you probably say, who cares about the playground in the north, right? It's that the perception of the scope of the data that is at your service can be completely different depending on how you feel part of the entire country or of a region or of the city itself. So it feels like there's some study to be done there to try to find a way at least to communicate to the people correctly or to manage their expectations there. So are you, of course, part of your municipal area, but what is the natural interface for you to get to the data you need? And I don't think probably there is only one single answer for that. To make a little happy also the other people who contributed questions, and again we may talk for a very long time about the other subjects as well, like the term high value datasets came out in one of the questions, and we may talk for the next hour about that, but we don't have the time. There was one point from, actually 2 points from Jakub on some of the more tricky bits of publishing data to a very large audience in the public. One was on the choice of license, the first question we had, I believe, at the end of the Irish presentation. And there was also the tricky point about the information we gather indirectly from our users as they browse our website, the log files we collect and so on. Again, I guess we can talk for a long time about this. I may perhaps break the ice telling you what the European Data Portal does. So if you browse our website for the terms and conditions, you will find the full terms that we've been writing with the help of the European Union and the legal people helping us to actually make that point very explicit. We try, actually, we do not require registration, but for the minimum functionality possible, like receiving our newsletter or being part of this webinar itself. But in most cases, we try to create as less friction as possible. And of course, more lately, exactly for that purpose, because as people become more aware of the privacy and the data that can be collected about them, we don't want to create obstacles. We don't want to create concerns. I don't know, I'm asking the country here, back to Mariam perhaps. What's your perception of people perhaps over the last couple of years with GDPR becoming perhaps more sensitive also when browsing data.gov.eu?
I suppose sometimes we find that people use it as an excuse not to publish open data. I think that we find that as a challenge, that people are afraid, you know, to publish open data because of GDPR issues. Now we have started to roll out, you know, in our training courses, anonymization of data, and I try to address it that way. Do you think that Deirdre? Yeah.
Understood. And Romain, in your case, did GDPR change your work perhaps over the last 2 years? Did you see, has your attitude changed to publishing?
You know, in France, we've got the CNIL, the National Commission of Personal Information, that is very close to ETALAB. And for me, data protection is necessary where we are talking about open data. So for me, GDPR is a new way to make pedagogy with data producers in order to make them understand the importance of data. When we are talking about data that are protected or which contains some personal data, it doesn't mean that we are not going to do anything with that. It's a very good proxy in order to can drive some specific public policies. And after that, we can make an anonymization work in order to have open data after. So for me, everything is linked, and GDPR is feeding open data, and open data is feeding GDPR. That's something very connected.
I also personally see it as an enabler rather than an obstacle. In a way, by learning and be reminded continuously over the last year of what we can do, what we can't do, and also beyond what is legal, but what is ethical, I believe we can only improve what our offering is. I mean, we can only realize better what we can offer to our audience of open data, whether at European, national, regional level. Aleida, in your case in Spain, what's your experience? Is GDPR more of a trouble, more of an excuse, or have you managed to live well with the introduction of it?
Yeah, I fully agree with Romain what he said. We don't think that GDPR, the new regulation, has changed the idea for the data providers that they have to to have their data. No, it's not like that. Even more with this regulation, we are now more in conversations with the Data Protection Agency, because they're also think that sometimes we use GDPR as an excuse, but there is not such excuse if we use the possibility of anonymization. So we have also this, I would say, this encourage of the Data Protection Agency to even open the data. And also I would like to add that a transparency law in Spain established also the possibility to open some data if there is an interest of state. So indeed, with this GDPR, we have been talking the data protection, the open data initiative, and also the transparency team. We think that this is an opportunity to say the data providers, don't be afraid that you can open the data, because there are several possibilities that allow you to open that data. So the issue is that we are talking about that more than that we did before with our previous law.
Thank you, Leida. I believe we need to start wrapping up, at least for the main session. I and Elina will stick around for the questions that haven't been answered yet, if we can help, particularly the one on licensing for Jakub. The last minute, just to thank you all again for being available. The work we do documenting your work is incredibly valuable for ourselves to learn, and from all other countries, some of which I believe are in the audience as we speak. So thank you again. And before we close, let me share on screen something, because there's some more work that is still going on our side. I believe it would be very useful for you to know. Apart from the datathon I reminded you already of, we are rerunning and refreshing the work we've done about 3 years ago to survey the economic impact of open data. These are one of the major pieces of work we do every year. If you can promote us as we do this work through your portals, we will be very, very grateful. We need businesses, in this case, not member states, to go through a very short survey and document the perception they have of open data, whether they use it or not. Perhaps they don't even realize they do, and in what way that contributes to their everyday work and the business they run and or the activities they perform. And on this line, I would let my guests free to go if they want to, while I will stick around with Eline for any remaining questions. Thanks again, and I'm very grateful for your contribution today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So let's see who we still have. Jakub is still online. Jakub, would you like to go live with your microphone so you can tell us more?
Sure. Hello.
Hi, Jakub. I believe I know you, by the way, right?
Yeah, you do.
Czech Republic team.
Yes, exactly.
Hey. So tell us more.
Okay, so in the screenshot, there was a license visible, which was derived from CC BY. And it said that it is almost the same as CC BY, except when someone reuses the data, they have to display some kind of warning or disclaimer or something like that, which is like an additional requirement, which at least in the Czech Republic, we consider as too much actually. So CC BY is something we still consider open, but any additional requests such as those, like displaying logos and warnings and disclaimers when we're using the data, we already deem as not open. So the question was how this is viewed by well, other participants here.
And this was specifically for Miriam, I understand. Miriam, do you remember what was the thinking behind the choice of that license? Can you share the background to that?
All right. Sorry, the background to this was our weather service in Ireland, Meta Éireann. There was a lot of requests for open data and they weren't publishing. And when we talked to them, they felt that they were concerned that their weather forecasts would be used without a weather warning. I suppose we're an island country. We don't want people going out in a boat thinking that it's going to be raining, but that there might be, you know, a storm coming, and that's not reflected in the data that's released. So they were very concerned that their weather data would be used without a weather warning, and that might put people in danger. So we worked with them just to develop a custom license. So basically what the license says is that you must use the weather warning if you're using the forecast data. It's still an open license. So, and that's just the one instance. So earlier, I think probably 99% of the data linked to our portal is CC BY4, and it's fully open. And this is just one example of a custom license.
So the constraint was in a sort of condition to make one of the bodies of governments you needed to work with be happy enough to publish.
Yes, and since then, I think they have published some 2,000 data sets. So going from 0 to 2,000, just because they were just afraid, you know, of the consequences of somebody using the weather data without the weather warning.
Yeah, makes sense. So I remember my own experience in the UK back in 2013, perhaps, in the early days of open public transport data. The transport agencies were saying, well, if I publish the timetables and the real-time data, people will start writing their own timetables. And then the passengers will be confused, and I need a special license so that nobody else can publish another timetable from mine. And of course, it took some time to explain, yeah, but if they do, perhaps there is a reason. So the words of Romain comes to mind, open by purpose rather than open by default. We may argue about this for a very long time. I believe that in the end, the public service authorities for transport in the UK understood that open data was good enough, even for very controversial subjects like this. And yeah, I can't really express judgment. I understand clearly the needs that some bodies of governments come from, and the case you described earlier. Jakub, what do you think? Have you got ever any objection of that kind from agencies or governments you work with?
Well, yes, our cadastre office also has a similar condition in their license, saying that basically, if you create any imagery out of the data, you need to have a logo there. And basically what we do is that we say, okay, but that cannot be considered open data, because open means no restrictions except this data was published by.
Yeah.
Well, they ignore us and they have it in their conditions anyway. So yeah, that's why it is a controversial topic, because clearly the data is usable, and some of the consumers don't object to displaying the logos and so on. But the question really is that, well, if we consider this open data or just useful public data, but not open, right?
Yeah, it will be interesting to see, and it will become perhaps, it will be, the issue will be amplified in a way by the so-called high-value data sets coming in 2 years from now with the new sector information and open data directive. So with the obligation for some data sets traditionally only being published commercially to become open, let's say the link between the publishing agency and the data, and perhaps the accountability of what could be produced using the data, will become even more tricky. And I don't know if you can feel protected by just having a logo somewhere. It will be an interesting battle to see being fought over the next 2 years. I believe let me check back on the chat room just to see if I've been covering everything. And thanks for the question, Jakub. Let me see. I see something from Francesca, some work being done for Region Lombardia, but that's just a message for me because I know Francesca. And a few thanks here and there. Oh, there's one particular point I would like, perhaps the last comment from from Spain. That is the point about interoperability and the effort you claim you are already putting substantially in achieving interoperability between national and regional levels. One of the point of the high value data sets, again, that ugly word that is coming and it's going to characterize our lives for the next 2 years, is that the ambition is that not only all countries will publish the same set of high value data sets, but also that there will be some degree of interoperability possible. If I want to write a journey planner between Spain and France, I would not need to spend months just to transform the data so it can be used together. What lessons, if you, I'm putting you on the spot, what lessons can you share from the work you've done so far that we can offer to the other countries going into this kind of work and negotiation as well?
Well, I was looking for, because of that question, I was looking for the, for example, we have been working, as I said, in high value data sets in the different committees, and one of them is the local part, always focus in smart cities. So here I have, I think I can share it with you. Well, I'm not very sure where I can share it here.
Okay, let me make you host
yeah.
for a second.
Since that I can't, because there's another one sharing something.
Okay, let me stop my sharing. You go.
I think it's over here. This one. Okay. Can you see it?
Yeah, it's coming. Yep.
Okay. So we have the executive summary in English. That's very strange because we always publish everything in Spanish. But here you can see, for example, the work of this group, as I said, of the municipal committee, where they have been working in it's what sets open data 40 data sets of the municipalities to compulsory be published in the following months. So here is the set they have to publish and where they're working in it now. So I have to go here. So this is the 40 high value, what do they have considered high value data sets, just also discussing them with the intermediaries in the, especially in the smart city. So here you have the 40 data sets where they are working, and for each of them they are working now in defining, in looking for vocabularies, if possible, if they are already published, for example, in some international body, or if not, trying to standardize it. So at this moment we have the selection of data set, but there is a huge work now to define exactly the same vocabularies and also the same metadata to publish this information with. So these are the 40 ones. And now, of course, we have a lot of experience, but I would have to deploy also the data portal using this data from the different cities. So this is what I was talking before, and what is already published in the web if you want to share it or to look for it.
Thank you, and I will definitely be in touch, because if you can bring together 41 cities, I hope I can help 28 countries to come together.
Yeah, the issue is that we would like to also think about these data sets to be considered in the European group. Yeah, because we are already working on them. So that would be great if we can share the same. Yeah,
I would be very, very happy to use you as a use case of how this has been managed already, at least started going through the process. And I see they celebrating as well. So I would really close it here for good for Rio this time. Thank you a lot, everybody, and the audience. You will find a recording of this very soon, reference from our social media channels in our website and on our YouTube channel. Thanks to the member states, thanks to participants, and see you for the next webinar or in Flesh and Blood event at the next opportunity. Goodbye.